What's up everybody, David here, and today we're going to be checking out Perfect Drums by Naughty Seal Audio. Now I am well aware that I'm very late to this party. Perfect Drums has been out for a long time, but in specific we're going to be checking out a feature of Perfect Drums that I kind of feel went under the radar. Using the full version of Perfect Drums, you can create your own multi-sample drum instrument, something like Steven Slate or Kontakt instruments or Superior Drummer. You can create your own instrument with your own samples that can then be opened for free in the Perfect Drums player. You can create and share your own drum sample pack that can then be opened for free in the Perfect Drums player. This concept was really interesting to me because most drum samples are created for Kontakt, which is a $400 program. It's not cheap. They're also created for something like Steven Slate Trigger, which is cheaper. I think it's like 150 bucks, but once again, it is a paid program that you need to open your samples. I was very intrigued by this idea, so luckily the guys at Naughty Seal Audio have provided me with a copy of Perfect Drums, and today we're gonna try it out. We're gonna make our own kit, we're gonna load in our own samples, and see how easy it is to do, and if it's a viable solution, or an alternative maybe, to Kontakt, or really any other drum sampler. Let's get started. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to set up our own sample pack just to show you what kind of things you can do with Perfect Drums and honestly how easy it is to do it. So first, let's start by going over the UI and what we see on the screen here. On the left, you have your quick controls for your faders, your solo, the mute, everything that you're used to in the mixer, same exact thing, just in a different little format. In the center, you have the choice of all your different kit pieces. So these are all the available slots in your kit. You have 16 total. You can select between all of them by using this drop down menu down here, or you can simply right click on each one to switch in between the different cells. Under that, you have the main area that we're going to be working with to make the sample pack. To the left, you have the overview section. First, we have name. This is where you name the piece, whatever you want to name it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Under that, you have articulation. The easiest way to look at articulation is basically how you are going to hit the drum. So the main one, I guess, would be your center hits. Then you can make one for rim shots and then cross sticks. You can do edge hits and just basically all the different ways that you can hit a snare drum or whatever drum you're dealing with. Under that, you have choke voicing. When set to on, this feature stops the current articulation samples when other ones are triggered. So this is needed when working on stuff like closed hi-hat or muted cymbal articulations. When set to off, it'll let the cymbals play out like normal. Sample group is basically where you switch back and forth between the different mics. So you have your direct mic, overhead, room, a reverb track if you want to include your own reverb, and then an effects track, which can really be whatever you want. Under that, you have 3 dynamic layers, soft, medium, and hard. And then you can also set the ranges that accounts for each dynamic layer. So 0 to 69 is soft, 69 to 109 is medium, and so on. Now in the center is where you have your sample list. This is where you're going to manage all of your samples. Now you can have a total of 8 different samples for each dynamic layer. So that's pretty much 8 different hits for each dynamic layer. The controls on the right gives you audition, flip phase, solo, mute, add, and remove samples. And then at the bottom you have the import and clear all function. And on the right you have the envelope section, which actually allows you to modify each sample within the sampler. The S is sample start, the E is sample end, A is attack time, D is decay time, and then the next one is decay curve. So just to show what this looks like, we're going to add a random sample. Start time, end time, attack, then you can change your decay, decay curve, and so on. It's really easy to use. On the right, we have a list of our articulations, so you can easily change the mapping, or you can go to global mapping and change them all at once. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the articulations is that for each of the 6 articulations, they each have their own sample groups and their own dynamic layers. So you're going to have to redo all the direct, overhead, room, and then all the different dynamic layers for each articulation that you use. So let's say you've already programmed your main snare hits and you want to add a rim shot. You would just add the new articulation, name it, add in your direct, overhead, room samples, do all your dynamic layers, and then up here you can set that articulation to its own key mapping. And of course, that is all within the umbrella of the snare track. And then lastly, once you've made your kit, once you're ready to save everything, these little gears are where you're going to go to save and export your kit. But we're going to get to that a little bit later. So now that we know what all this stuff is and what it does, let's get started. We're going to be loading in some kick drum samples for this example. So we're going to name this kick. We're going to be working on the main articulation, and we don't need any choke voicing because, well, it's a kick drum. We're going to start with the direct mic, and we'll start on the hard dynamic layer. That works. So you can add these in one by one, and I guess it's not a hard thing to do, but the easiest way is just to do import all. Once we hit import all, we're going to find our samples here, go to kick, then hard layer, and then we're just going to grab the samples we want to put in. So I have 5 different samples for the hard layer of kick drums, and once we hit open, that's it. They're all done. They're already imported. So now we're just going to move to the medium layer and do that once again. Medium is done. We're going to move to soft layer, do that one more time. And that's it for the direct mic. So we can go back through and audition each sample if we want to. And of course, on the right, you can modify your envelopes as needed. These samples, however, are already cut up and ready to go, so I don't need to mess with any of that right now. So next, we're going to move to the overhead layer, and from here, we're going to add in our hard overhead samples. So we'll find our overheads here. Then we're going to do that again for the medium and so on. And then lastly, the soft layer. So now our overheads are done, we'll move to the room. Soft, medium layer. It's really, really easy to do. I guess it's kind of time consuming, but it's not really a hard thing to do. And that's it. We have all of our room samples programmed and ready to go. Now, hopefully, as you noticed, as we add each of those samples, these knobs become available because now you can go in and adjust the level of your room mic, the level of your overhead for each sample, and really fine tune how it's going to sound in the end result. So now let's test our kick and see if it's all working. Sounds like everything is working pretty well, so let's reset all of these knobs. Now, I don't have any reverb samples for this, but if you wanted to add a reverb sample, it's the exact same process. You would just go down to the reverb group, add in your samples, and you're good to go. And don't forget, you also have the effects sample group as well. So a couple cool things you could do with that is maybe you could put in an already processed kick drum so that the user can choose between unprocessed and processed or even blend them together. Or you could also do a completely different kick drum microphones. They could blend 2 mics together. So there's a lot of different options that you can use this effects for, and you can get really creative here. Now, of course, guys, if you put another mic on the effects knob, of course, like anything else, make sure it is in phase so that when you try to blend them, you don't run into any issues. So once you're done programming, you can go up to the articulations and change your MIDI mapping, but I'm going to keep this at C1. I'm only showing you the kick today because really that's the exact process for any drum piece you use. So you would repeat this whole process for your toms, repeat it for your cymbals as well, except then be mindful of the choke voicing if you want to do mutes and stuff like that. But overall, what I just did for the kick is the exact same process for any drum piece that you use. So now our kit is completely programmed. I have my kick, my snare, my hi-hat, and the last step is to save the kit. So like I said before, we're going to click on this kit designer, and then now we have all of our options for the different types of saves we can do. So first thing is you have 2 different options. You can save as an instrument or save as a kit. So if you save as instrument, it's just saving this one kick cell. But if you save the kit, it's saving everything. Obviously, we want to save the kit. We want to save all of it. So now you have 2 different choices. You have the sampler kit and you have the portable kit. So the first one you have is Save Sampler Kit. The way this is going to work is it's basically going to save it as a preset. And then whenever it pulls up that preset, it's going to look for the samples in the same location that they were imported from. If you're going to use this version, I would recommend saving the kit in the same folders that the samples are located in so that you don't get any missing WAV files if you ever move those samples around. It's better just to keep them together. And then you have the portable kit option, which is going to save the preset and the samples all in one package. So when you make a sample pack, you can export the portable kit and then send that to somebody, and that one file has the samples, the preset, and everything they need to use your kit. This is probably going to be the one that you want to use when sharing your perfect drum samples. Now guys, something to remember, when you save as a portable kit, you can only save it once. Make sure that you've tested the kit, make sure it works, make sure everything is working perfect. You only get one chance to save it. Once you save the kit as a portable file, it is basically encrypted so that when you share this file with someone else, they cannot open and edit your kit. So just make sure that when you save it as a portable kit, you've already tested it and everything is working exactly how you want it to. So let's go ahead and save this as a portable kit. We're gonna call this Mac Daddy McGee Kit. I have no idea why we're calling that, but that's what we're calling it. So now our kit is done and ready to go, and it's packed all into one single loadable file. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open an instance of the Perfect Drums player, which is the free version of Perfect Drums. And then we're going to go to these gears, we're going to load the sampler kit, we're going to pick Mac Daddy McGee and load that into our sampler. Let's see if it works. Sounds like everything is working great, so let's drag over this little MIDI loop and see how it sounds. Sounds like everything is working great. So if we head over to the mixer in the Perfect Drums player, you can see that you still have options for the room, overhead mics, and direct mics. So let's see if we could tweak those a little bit and get more of a less roomy sound. And of course, if you had the effects and the reverb set up, you could also blend those as well. Now, the cool thing here about saving a portable kit is that when you send these kits to someone, they cannot modify them. So I can go and listen to these samples, I can invert the phase, I can solo and mute, but I cannot remove or add any new samples. So what you send them is what they are stuck with. They cannot modify anything unless it is MIDI mapping. That's the only thing they can change. So the portable kit is more or less a way to lock or encrypt your kit so that they can't be altered after you've sent them to someone. And that's it, guys. We have successfully created our own sample pack inside of the full Perfect Drums, opened it in the free Perfect Drums player, and it was super easy to do. Now, like I said in the video, this can be time consuming. Actually making any sort of samples can be time consuming, but doing it in Perfect Drums is not by any means hard. It is very easy to do. Thanks to the clear and easy to use UI, it's actually very simple to get started. And once you start working with it more, you'll definitely notice yourself working a lot faster inside of the sampler. So the more time you use it, the faster you're gonna be cranking out those samples. Now, how does this stack up to something like Kontakt? I think it stacks up pretty damn well, actually. First things first is I think making your kit and making your samples inside of Perfect Drums is a lot more user-friendly than Kontakt. But of course, Kontakt also has its own advantages. So with Kontakt, you're obviously going to have some advantages. You have more control over the different velocity ranges. I believe you can put in more samples into Kontakt. And then Kontakt also gives you the ability to make your own GUI and your own user interface. But all of that is also behind $400. You have to pay for Kontakt, and Kontakt is not cheap. Granted, once you have Kontakt, it's amazing and there's so much you can do with it, but the whole point to this is that not everybody has Kontakt. That's where Perfect Drums really shines. So if I have the full version, I can make a sample kit that you can open for free in the Perfect Drums player. If you don't have Kontakt, it doesn't matter. If you don't have Battery or Drumagog or Trigger, it does not matter. You can just download the free Perfect Drums player and open it right there at no extra cost. And not to mention, if you have the full version of Perfect Drums, you can load in those samples and blend them with the Perfect Drums factory library. But back to the point of not needing Kontakt, this can be huge for somebody selling their own samples. If you are making and distributing your samples for all of this expensive software, the moment you get a customer that doesn't have that software, they're probably not going to buy them. There is a lot of people that don't have all this expensive software, but they still want to use drum samples. They still want to buy your product, but if they feel like they can't use it, if they don't have the tools to use it, they're simply not going to buy it. Having a free option for people to open your drum samples is simply going to result in more people buying your drum samples. There's a lot of people that miss out on this stuff because they don't have Kontakt, they don't have Slate Trigger, but if you give them a free option, now they have no reason not to buy your stuff. Not only will they be more inclined to buy your samples, they'll probably be more inclined to buy more of your samples. Maybe instead of selling one of your packs, they might buy 2 or 3 because now they don't have to spend all this extra money on another piece of software just to use them. If you're a business or you're just anyone trying to sell their own samples, this is a very smart move for you because it simply gets your product to more people. The main point, once again, the less people have to spend, the more they will buy. Overall, I think Perfect Drums is definitely a viable alternative to Kontakt. You should 100% be making your samples available in Perfect Drums as well as Kontakt, because that's just more people who can now buy your product. A company already making great use of this is 3 Sigma Audio. Their whole line of top shelf drums sample packs are all available inside of the free Perfect Drums player. So if you guys are currently in need of drum samples but you don't have Kontakt, you don't have Trigger, maybe you don't have money to spend on those, definitely check out 3 Sigma Audio. I will be reviewing the top shelf drum samples on my channel in the next few weeks, so definitely stay tuned for that. That should be really exciting. Once again guys, if you already have the full version of Perfect Drums and you are selling your own samples, definitely check it out. And if you don't have it, it is definitely worth the investment. Once again guys, I know I've said this a million times in this video, but making your samples and your product available in a free plugin will only result in more people buying it. It's that simple. That's what the Perfect Drums sampler does, and it does it very well. On that note guys, let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you have Perfect Drums? Are you using the sampler? Are you going to use the sampler? How's your day going? What did you eat for breakfast? I'm getting ahead of myself. You don't have to tell me that, unless you want to, but you don't have to. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There's new videos every single week, and you don't want to miss any content. Thank you so much for watching. My name is David, and I will see you guys next time.